Martinsville just gave us one of those race weekends that is really hard to put into words. In the span of just a few hours, we went from watching one of the most frustrating and ugly moments of the season to witnessing one of the most satisfying and emotional wins in recent memory. Two completely different feelings, two completely different stories, and both of them happened at the exact same track on the exact same weekend. That is what makes short track racing so special and so unpredictable. You never really know what you were going to get, and Martinsville reminded us of that in the most dramatic way possible. Before we get into all of it, if you are new here, welcome. This channel is all about real NASCAR talk every single week. No fluff, no filler, just honest breakdowns of what is actually happening in the sport. We are pushing hard toward that 1,000 subscriber mark, so if NASCAR is something you follow closely and care about, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. It genuinely helps this channel grow, and it means you will never miss a video. Now let us get into everything that went down at Martinsville, because there is a lot to cover. The first big story from the weekend is one that a lot of fans are still talking about, and honestly, it is hard to stop thinking about it once you see the replay. Late in the race, with tensions already running high the way they always do on a short track, things completely boiled over between Bubba Wallace and Carson Hocevar. Short tracks have a way of bringing out the most intense moments in racing, and Martinsville is probably the best example of that. The corners are tight, the racing is aggressive, and tempers tend to run hot. But what happened between these two went beyond the usual short track roughness. On a restart, Bubba Wallace got into the back of Carson Hocevar's number 77 car heading into Turn 3. The first contact was hard enough on its own, but then Wallace hit him again and then just drove straight through him. It was not a bump-and-run situation. It was not the kind of aggressive but acceptable move you sometimes see on short tracks. This was a full send into the back of another car, and the consequences were massive. The cars behind them had nowhere to go. Everything stacked up almost instantly. A huge number of Cup Series cars got caught up in the wreck that followed, and in just a few seconds, the entire race was turned upside down. It was the kind of crash that changes everything, not just for the people involved, but for the whole field. What made it even more of a talking point was what happened when fans went back and watched the replay. A lot of people were trying to figure out what Hocevar had actually done to deserve that kind of response. The answer, honestly, was not much. Earlier in the race, the two had gone 3 wide into Turn 1, and Wallace was clearly unhappy about it. But most people watching felt like that moment did not come close to justifying what happened on that restart. The reaction seemed way too big for what had actually taken place earlier, and that is what left so many people shaking their heads. To his credit, Bubba Wallace did not try to hide from it after the race. He sat down with Jamie Little on Fox Sports and admitted that he got it wrong. He explained that he misjudged the situation, that he did not mean to turn Hocevar the way he did, and that he miscalculated his position in the center of the corner. He brought up the earlier 3 wide moment as the context behind his frustration, but he also owned the mistake. That kind of honesty is something you don't always see in motorsport, and it matters. But at the same time, owning the error does not take away the damage that was done, both to the cars involved and to Wallace's own season. Carson Hocevar actually came out of it in a way that surprised a lot of people. After getting hit that hard and getting caught up in that much chaos, he somehow managed to battle back and finish 15th. That is a seriously impressive recovery and a real credit to him and his team. But for Wallace, the outcome was about as bad as it gets. His car was done. The day was over. He ended up with a 36th place finish and a DNF, and that is a painful result no matter how you look at it. The reason it stings so much is because of where Wallace was in the standings before this weekend. Just a few weeks ago, he was sitting second in the Cup Series points. Second. That is not a bad run or a lucky stretch. That is real momentum, real speed, and real results. But after back-to-back finishes of 34th or worse, everything has changed. When the dust settled at Martinsville, Wallace had dropped all the way down to 11th in the standings. That is not a small slip. That is a dramatic fall from a position that had a lot of fans believing this could be a really special season for him. You could hear it in his voice after the race. He talked about how much he had been looking forward to Martinsville. It is one of his favorite tracks. The team had a sponsor on the car with Hardee's, and the expectations coming in were high. Practice looked solid, the hope was there, and then race day arrived, and it just did not come together. That pattern of things looking good early in the weekend but not delivering on Sunday is something that has shown up before with this program, and it is the kind of thing that weighs on a team over the course of a long season. The silver lining, if there is one, is that the Easter break is coming at just the right time. Getting a few days away from the track, resetting mentally, and coming back with fresh energy could be exactly what Wallace and his team need right now. Bristol Motor Speedway is up next on April 12th, and that is going to be a big test. After a weekend like this one, they need more than just speed. They need a response, and they need it quickly before the standings drift any further in the wrong direction. One more thing worth saying about the Wallace and Hoser incident is that these kinds of moments do not disappear once the race is over. Drivers have long memories. People inside the garage talk, and the next time someone finds themselves racing close to the number 23 car, there is a real chance some of them will remember exactly what happened at Martinsville. That's just the reality of how things work in a sport where you see the same competitors week after week for an entire season. Now, with all of that said, it is time to completely shift the mood, because Martinsville also gave us something that felt genuinely wonderful, and that is the word for it. Chase Elliott won. He got his first victory of the 2025 season, the 22nd win of his Cup Series career, and this was not one of those easy, dominant performances where a driver leads from the front and makes it look simple. This was the opposite of that. This win took work, patience, and one absolutely crucial call at exactly the right time. For most of the race, Chase Elliott did not even look like a threat to win. He started 10th and spent a lot of the afternoon outside the top 5 conversation. He was running well enough, but he was not the guy everyone was looking at as the favorite. That role belonged entirely to Denny Hamlin, who was absolutely on another level for most of the day. Hamlin started on pole, took control immediately, and led 292 of the first 317 laps. He was running laps that looked effortless. Every time you checked in on the race, Hamlin was out front. It genuinely felt like his race to lose, and it seemed like very little was going to stop him from heading to victory lane. And then Martinsville happened. That's really the only way to describe it. The track has this way of making races that look settled suddenly feel wide open again, and that is exactly what took place on lap 312. Elliott's crew chief, Alan Gustafson, made the call to bring him to pit road earlier than the other main contenders. It was a gamble, pure and simple. If the caution did not come, the call would have looked like a mistake, and fans would have been all over it. But if the caution did come, Elliott would be in a completely different position. And the caution came. Just like that, the race that had been Hamlin's for most of the afternoon was suddenly up for grabs again, and Chase Elliott had the track position that matters so much at a place like Martinsville. Ross Chastain briefly jumped to the lead by staying out on older tires, and for a moment it looked like there might be one more twist left in the story. But when the restart happened, Elliott was sharp, clean, and decisive. He got around Chastain quickly and never gave anyone a chance to seriously challenge him after that. Over the final 69 laps, he was calm and controlled. Not overdramatic, not panicking, just doing exactly what needed to be done. He crossed the line with a margin of just over half a second over Denny Hamlin. And at Martinsville, with that kind of pressure bearing down on him, that is an impressive gap to hold. Joey Logano came home third, Ty Gibbs was fourth, and William Byron rounded out the top five. But really, the whole conversation after the race was about Elliott and what this win means for his season going forward. Because this did not feel like just another result. It felt like a turning point. It felt like the kind of performance that changes the way people look at a driver and a team for the rest of the year. It validates the choices that have been made, it quiets the critics, and it reminds everyone that when Chase Elliott and this team are clicking, they are a genuine championship contender. A big part of the credit has to go to Alan Gustafson. Crew chiefs get criticized constantly, and Gustafson has definitely been on the receiving end of that over the years. When a strategy call does not work, fans are quick to point at the pit box and question everything. But this call was perfect. The timing, the read on the race, the willingness to take the gamble, all of it came together exactly as needed. It also helps that Rick Hendrick reportedly called Gustafson on the morning of the race to remind him that this season is a marathon, not a sprint. That message clearly got through because instead of chasing the safe play, Gustafson played the long game, and it paid off in the best possible way. The story gets even better when you hear what Elliott said after the race about the timing of it all. This win came exactly 11 years after his very first Cup Series start, which took place on March 29, 2015. In that race, Elliott finished 38th, and the driver who won that day? Denny Hamlin. So now, 11 years later, at Martinsville, Elliott beats Hamlin at that same track to pick up a massive win. That is the kind of storyline that you genuinely cannot write. It connects the beginning of his Cup career to one of the best moments he has had in it, and it makes the whole thing hit on a completely different level. While all of this was going on at Martinsville, there were other things happening around the sport worth keeping an eye on. Tyler Reddick is putting together a really impressive start to the season, and it matters even more because he is in a contract year with 23XI Racing. Denny Hamlin has already suggested that they are working on getting a new deal done with him soon, so that situation is going to be worth watching as the season moves forward. NASCAR also dropped the list of 15 nominees for the 2027 Hall of Fame class, and there are some significant names on it. Kevin Harvick, Jeff Burton, and Greg Biffle are all in the mix, which means while the current season keeps delivering fresh drama and new storylines, the sport is also taking a moment to honor the people who helped build it into what it is today. It's a nice reminder that NASCAR has a deep history and a legacy that matters alongside everything happening on the track right now. With the Easter break coming up, everyone gets a little time to breathe before the series heads to Bristol Motor Speedway on April 12th. But do not expect things to calm down too much, because Bristol is anything but quiet. Kyle Larson has been dominant there recently, and last April he led 411 of 500 laps, which is a staggering number when you think about it. So while the sport takes a short pause, the next major story is already sitting right there waiting to unfold. Looking back at everything Martinsville gave us, it really was the complete NASCAR experience packed into one weekend. There was controversy and frustration and real consequences for a driver who was trying to hold on to serious momentum. And there was also a beautifully timed, perfectly executed victory that could end up being one of the most important wins of the season. Both of those things happened in the same place, within hours of each other. And that is what makes this sport so hard to look away from. One race can give you so many different emotions all at once, and Martinsville delivered every single one of them. That is exactly why NASCAR fans keep coming back week after week, because it's never just one story. It's always multiple stories running at the same time, all of them connected, all of them building toward the next race and the next moment. Now it's your turn. What did you think about Bubba Wallace's move on Carson Hocear? Did you see it as frustration spilling over, or did he go too far? And what about Chase Elliott? Do you think this win at Martinsville just changed the whole direction of his season? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because these are the kinds of conversations this channel lives for. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit the like button, leave a comment, and if you're not subscribed yet, now is the time. This is NASCAR Insider Hub, and we're just getting started.